The rain fell hard against the windows of the 23rd floor office, but inside the room, the silence felt even heavier. Emily Carter sat alone in her wheelchair, staring at the city lights below. She was one of the youngest CEOs in Chicago, the owner of a billion-dollar tech company, and yet she had become known for something else entirely. No assistant lasts more than a day with her. People whispered it in elevators. Employees talked about it in break rooms. Some said she was cold. Others said she was impossible to please. But nobody knew the truth hiding behind the sharp tone in her voice and the sadness in her tired eyes. 3 years earlier, a terrible car accident had left Emily paralyzed from the waist down. Since then, her world had become smaller, darker, and lonelier. One by one, assistants quit. Some couldn't handle the pressure. Others couldn't handle her anger. Then one Monday morning, a single father named Daniel Brooks walked into her office carrying an old leather bag and wearing a jacket that looked older than he was. And everything began to change. Before we continue, take a moment to subscribe to Kindness Unlimited, like this video, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Stories like this remind us that even the smallest act of kindness can change a life forever. Daniel needed the job more than anyone knew. At 38 years old, he was raising his 8-year-old daughter Lily alone after losing his wife to cancer 2 years earlier. Every morning, he packed Lily's lunch, braided her hair the best he could, and rushed to work interviews hoping someone would finally give him a chance. When he arrived at Carter Technologies, the receptionist looked at him with pity. "You know assistants usually quit before lunch, right?" she whispered. Daniel smiled softly. "Then maybe she just hasn't met the right person yet." Upstairs, Emily didn't even look at him when he entered her office. "You'll quit," she said immediately. "Everyone does." Daniel sat quietly across from her desk. "Maybe. But I still think people deserve a fair chance." For the first time in days, Emily looked up. There was something different about him. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't trying to impress her. He just seemed calm. "I work long hours," she warned. "I don't tolerate mistakes. And I don't need sympathy." Daniel nodded. "Good. Because I'm not here to feel sorry for you. I'm here to work." Emily hired him on the spot. The first week was brutal. Emily snapped at him constantly. She criticized every schedule, every email, every meeting arrangement. One afternoon, she threw a folder onto the floor after Daniel accidentally mixed up 2 conference calls. "Do you even know what you're doing?" she shouted. The office became silent. Daniel bent down, picked up the papers carefully, and placed them back on her desk. "You're right," he said calmly. "I made a mistake. I'll fix it." No anger. No argument. That confused Emily more than the mistake itself. Late one evening, Daniel stayed behind to finish organizing files. As he walked past Emily's office, he noticed her struggling to reach a book that had fallen beside her wheelchair. Without a word, he picked it up and placed it gently on her desk. Emily looked embarrassed. "I could have done that myself," she muttered. "I know," Daniel replied kindly. "Sometimes people just need a little help." For some reason, those words stayed in her mind all night. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, Daniel learned the routines Emily never explained. He memorized her coffee order. He adjusted meeting times when her chronic pain became unbearable. He never made her feel weak, and he never treated her like a burden. One afternoon, Lily came to the office after school because Daniel couldn't afford a babysitter. Emily frowned when she saw the little girl coloring quietly near the window. "This is a workplace," Emily said coldly. Daniel immediately stood up. "I'm sorry. I'll take her home." But before they could leave, Lily rolled her drawing toward Emily's desk. "I made this for you," she said shyly. Emily looked down. It was a picture of a woman sitting in a wheelchair under a giant yellow sun. Above the drawing, Lily had written in crooked letters, "Strong people still deserve happiness." The room became very quiet. Emily stared at the paper for several seconds before clearing her throat. "Your sun is too big," she said softly. Lily grinned. "Dad says sunshine should always take up more space." That night, Emily sat alone in her apartment staring at the drawing again and again. No one had spoken to her with simple kindness in years. The next morning, Daniel arrived late for the first time. Emily was furious. "You're 40 minutes late." Daniel looked exhausted. "Lily had a fever. I couldn't leave her alone." Emily opened her mouth to complain, but then she noticed his trembling hands and tired eyes. "You stayed up all night?" she asked quietly. Daniel nodded. Something inside Emily softened. "Go home early today," she said. Daniel blinked in surprise. "What?" "You heard me." It was the first kind thing she had said to him. Over the next few months, the walls around Emily slowly began to fall. She started asking Daniel about Lily. She smiled more often. Sometimes she even laughed quietly at his terrible dad jokes. For the first time since her accident, employees noticed light returning to the office. But then everything changed one snowy December evening. Emily was working late when the building suddenly lost power during a storm. Emergency lights flickered red across the hallways. Her wheelchair stopped moving. Panic rushed through her chest. "Daniel," she called desperately. Within seconds, he appeared beside her. "It's okay," he said gently. But the elevators were down, and emergency crews said help could take hours because of the weather. Emily's breathing became shaky. "I hate this," she whispered. "I hate needing people." Daniel knelt beside her wheelchair. "Needing help doesn't make you weak," he said softly. "It makes you human." Then he wrapped his coat around her shoulders and stayed beside her in the dark for nearly 3 hours, talking about life, grief, and fear. For the first time since her accident, Emily cried. Not because she felt broken, but because someone finally saw her pain without judging it. A few weeks later, Emily surprised the entire company during the annual holiday party. She rolled onto the stage holding a microphone with trembling hands. 3 years ago, she began, I stopped believing in people. I thought success mattered more than kindness. I pushed everyone away because I was angry at the world. The room was silent. Then she looked toward Daniel standing near the back beside Lily. But one person refused to quit on me. Daniel lowered his eyes modestly. Emily smiled through tears. He reminded me that kindness isn't weakness. It's strength. Real strength. Then, in front of the entire company, she announced Daniel as the new director of employee relations with a salary that would completely change his life. The room erupted into applause. Lily ran forward and hugged her father tightly while tears filled his eyes. And for the first time in years, Emily didn't feel alone anymore. Sometimes kindness doesn't arrive with grand speeches or perfect timing. Sometimes it arrives quietly. In the form of patience. In the form of understanding. In the form of someone simply refusing to give up on another human being. And maybe that's the real power of kindness. It reminds people they still matter. So tonight, remember this story when you meet someone carrying invisible pain. A little patience, compassion, or encouragement could become the reason they keep going. Because one kind heart can change another life forever.